Everything these people do has an agenda. Sometimes it's very difficult for the average person to see this because they simply don't have time. They're so busy running on the treadmill. The only problem is that we've been taught that government is who we should be relying on, when the reality is that the ones that we should be relying on ultimately is ourselves. The greatest tool that is used to control the masses and to keep us in the state that we are in is the divided state of our community, the generally divided state of our society. Each country is divided against each other, and then you break that down. Each state is divided against each other. Each community is divided against each other. Each person within the community is divided against the other people in the community, very often with their own families as well. And all of this is done by design. And even in the response to the system, the response is so divided because so many people have a focus on a particular rabbit hole or a particular agenda, and nobody is really willing to unite. So many people want to be the kingpin, so many people want to be the guru, and look, I can appreciate it. There's people out there that want to sell books, and we do need to make an income, we need to make a living because we all have to pay to be alive. And well, it may be an unfortunate thing, but it is an unfortunate reality, and we need to put all these differences aside. One of the most effective things the government ever did to hide the grand conspiracy that underlies all the other conspiracies was to create a conspiracy culture around it to hide the grand conspiracy. This is the best method that COINTEL has. It's one of their most effective methods. It's something they do every time. They will take a real conspiracy, something that is a real problem, and they will embellish it to the point that it becomes unbelievable, or they will surround it with all sorts of conjecture and innuendo and theory. And that's why there's been so many conspiracies interjected into the movement in the last 10, 20, 25 years, 30 years. I mean, it's been going on for a long time. If people are going to claim that the issue is the issue that will serve to awaken the masses and change the world, whatever the topic is, it first needs to be proven to be 100% true. And that has not and will not occur until mankind achieves the freedom to actually find out. But that freedom will never be achieved while people continue to argue and waste time over claiming fact on whatever topic there is that they're looking at. And therefore the entire process cancels itself out. The claiming of fact on both sides, when the reality is that neither side actually knows for sure, is the entire reason these psychological operations and conspiracy theories have been introduced. Because they are circular arguments that cannot be solved without freedom, and the argument and the division the argument creates is the very thing that prevents that freedom from ever being achieved. And people need to be careful what they believe. Because once you go down this rabbit hole and you start researching and investigating things, if you start believing everything that you see, you're going to end up very, very confused. And what happens is that people will look into a particular topic and they'll take pieces of it and they'll believe that, but not the rest of it. And then they'll take pieces of another topic and they'll believe bits of it, but not the rest of it. And then they add it all together and they end up so confused and so convoluted because they're starting to place too much power in the written word. They're starting to place too much power and too much value in what they read in books, and not enough power and value in themselves and what they experience for themselves. And that is a huge, huge problem, and it's a huge mechanism that has been put into human consciousness in order to keep us divided, and it is extremely effective. Belief is the enemy of knowledge. Be careful what you believe. The problem is that we remain divided. And we don't fight back, basically because most people are good people who don't want to hurt other people. And the ones that are employed to control us really don't think that way. They don't care who they hurt. And they wear lots of armor and they carry lots of weapons. So they are very intimidating, but we still have the strength of numbers. And all we really have to do is stay home and not comply. Very often people find themselves just trapped in this system and they don't see that the way out is actually within themselves. That's what this whole experience has been about. That's what it's all about, is finding that which is in yourself, finding that spark of you that exists within you. And so many people have lost that. We measure ourselves up to all these different parameters and all these different models and all these different things we think we should be, but we miss out on us. We miss out on that spark of you that is you, that experience that you came here to have. What is that? It's there somewhere in the back of your mind if you can search. It was there when you were a child, I'm sure it was. There'd be something there, some reason. Didn't you think you were special when you were a child? Didn't you think there was a reason for you to be here? You weren't just randomly born, that you came here to do something. This was a special place, a special time, and you had a special reason for being here. All we have to do is choose to walk away, because the entire construct that keeps us here is just fiction. It's just a meme. It's just based on the idea that this is what we have to do. Even government's just an idea. Government doesn't really exist. It's not this thing that can come and eat you. It's just this building that people go to and they do what it says in the books. They believe in the written word, and the book says that they have to do this, so they do it. Because it's the law, because it's written in a book. Well, what does that mean? It doesn't mean anything. It's not natural law. It doesn't serve anybody. It doesn't help anybody. I mean, sure, we need laws. We need laws to prevent people from committing crimes, but where does crime come from? Most crime comes because people are in a state of scarcity, or they're in a state where they're completely disconnected from themselves, both which are a result of this society, a result of this legislation, a result of the financial system, this entire meme that we've allowed to be constructed around us. So perhaps we should address that. You know, like, there's no real remedy ever going to be found within this system, because the entire system is fiction. The entire system is designed to lead us away from who and what we are. That's what it's for. That's what it's always been for. And that's why we will never find any remedy, not in any movement, not in any legal action that we try to take, not in anything. You know, the entire legal system is not based on what is right and what is wrong. It's not based on good and bad behavior. It's based on points of law, which is usually bound out through corporate law, which is usually done to promote the continuation of this system, to afford remedy to politicians and banksters and those at the top of the food chain, or those who consider themselves to be at the top of the food chain that they have created, but not to afford any remedy to us. It's only there to tie us up in red tape and to sometimes afford us little modicums of remedy if we get too close to the truth. It's there to give us some form of appeasement in some cases, and to set some example, and to instill into the minds of the public the belief that the system does actually work and the legal system actually is functional, when nothing could be further from the truth. So we're not going to find any remedy there. The only place we're going to find remedy is in our hearts. And I think in order to really see what's going on around us, we need to be able to look at the wider perspective and look at the bigger picture and put everything in context with each other, because there are so many different avenues that need looking at. And I think it's important that we look at them all, but don't get locked into the belief that any one of them is the be-all and end-all and has all the answers that we need, because all of them are related, and so many of them are put there simply to keep us arguing and keep us distracted. But be very careful before deciding to believe anything or lock yourself in any belief system, and please do not lock yourself into any belief that is strong enough to cause you to argue with other people about this topic that you really don't know the truth of. You may suspect that you know the truth, and you may well be right, but putting it out there as fact and creating that confrontation is not really the way to move things forward. All information needs to be considered, but other people's opinions need to be respected as well, and stating fact on any issue is not the way to open anybody's mind. All you do is put up a barrier and create an argument, and that is not the way forward. And that's one of the big mistakes that we've been making in this independent media. One of the big mistakes we've been making in all the research that we've been doing is finding something that works for us, locking ourselves into that belief, and then screaming fact from the rooftops and shouting down anyone who disagrees with us. Government does so many things to continue this and to pit us against each other, but it's extremely important that we notice that, and that we notice how we're being led. Sometimes it's very difficult for the average person to see this because they simply don't have time. They're so busy running on the treadmill. And when they do have any time to spare at all they really want to do is relax, and the most preferred form of relaxation in the modern world is unfortunately television. And that is how most people spend what spare time they have. Either that or going out and doing some sport that they love. They might go out and play tennis or go swimming or go for a row in the river or something. But very often we're just sitting down watching television, getting fed propaganda by the government, which really doesn't help things very much at all. Again, most of this happens because people are kept in a state of scarcity, which is because of the system itself anyway. So really it all comes back to what the politicians have done and the situation that they put the public in. The only problem is that we've been taught that government is who we should be relying on, when the reality is that the ones that we should be relying on ultimately is ourselves. And that's been such a problem for our community. It's been such a problem for the human race, their inability to rely on themselves and the way they've been led away from their life skills. The solution is unity of people. That's it. That's the only thing that's going to bring about any change. The solution is unity. The solution is for people to respect each other and to stand up as one movement. But you're not going to get that until people can put down their barriers with their neighbours and put down their barriers with people and actually stand up as one united front.